Hello and welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. As a professional detailer over the years, you can imagine I have used plenty of different products while detailing my clients' vehicles. And a lot of the things that really frustrates me about a lot of these products are actually the spray heads that come on all of the bottles. I've been through the gamut of purchasing separate bottles, separate spray heads throughout the years, and I've honestly never been that impressed. Typically what I end up doing is just purchasing the bottle of product from the company, and whatever spray head comes on the bottle, that's what I end up using. A lot of these, what you'll understand throughout the years, are just straight consumables. So trying to purchase $2, $3 spray heads typically aren't going to last you more than a couple of months. That's why today we're checking out the Pressol spray bottles from Obsessed Garage. We're going to be doing a deep dive review on these today to see if they're truly worth your money or if this is just an exercise in form over function. Welcome back to the channel and let's jump into it. Before we jump here into the video, you should know this is absolutely not a paid review, not a paid sponsorship. I purchased all of these with my own money to give you my full unbiased review to see if you guys should actually spend your money on these, or like I said in the intro, if these are actually form over function. Now, originally when these came out, I was a little skeptical on them. I've been through the gamut. I've used many different spray heads on a lot of my different chemicals. I purchased the IKs, I purchased the mercury quasars, and I have always just been, like I said, disappointed. I've used them before. They typically last for a couple of months and then you end up dropping them. They break, the spray head stops working, and inevitably I just end up chucking them in the trash and using the bottles and the spray heads that actually come with the chemicals I use. Now, one big skeptical topic that I had with these was genuinely just the price. So starting over here with the 500 milliliter Pressol bottle, this is a $22 spray head and bottle in here. Over here for the 750, just 50 cents more, so I would argue a better value here. $22.50. Now, as you can see here, you can label all of these to get that nice clean aesthetic from Obsessed Garage, or actually Armor Detail Supply as well. These retail at $1.75. You can color code them. You can do all sorts of different things with them. It is a little on the limited side. I'll talk about that more in my review. So I was intrigued by these because of the overall aesthetic. Now, I've been a fan of matte. I've been a fan of Obsessed Garage for many years. If you guys have watched this channel before, you know I've got a Krenza K1322 TS on the wall. I've got the Obsessed Garage style, not the full Obsessed Garage spec pressure washer setup here with all the piping and that type of stuff. And I've been really impressed with that. It's worked very well, and I'm a big believer here as a professional detailer. Oftentimes you get what you pay for. So again, they came out, I was like, gosh, 22 bucks for a spray bottle, that's freaking nuts. But let's try them. So I purchased them. I've been using them for a little over a month now, playing around with them, and my collection started to grow because I was pretty darn impressed with these things. Now, of course, I want to jump into the build quality here, but understand that Pressol is a German-based manufacturer, and Matt essentially approached Pressol and said, hey, I want to make the best detailing bottles in the world. We need to figure out some stuff. So a couple of things they've had to figure out is how to have very heavy alkaline chemicals in spray bottles that aren't going to cause a ton of discoloration, that are going to cause your spray heads to actually fail, the dip tube to actually fall off of the bottle. So Matt, being Matt, essentially approached Pressol. He requested and required that they make all of these changes so that he could sell them to folks like us. Now again, I think one of the things with bottles like this is not for everybody. This is completely overkill, but it's for those who are obsessed and those who care about aesthetics and those who care about spending money for crap that is actually going to last and not something you're going to use for a month, throw it away, grab a new one. That whole situation frustrates the heck out of me. So I want to start off here with the actual spray head. So as you can see here, we've got a very movable dip tube on here. Importantly, Matt has also put on these little stainless steel kind of couplers on there, if you will, to keep the dip tube from actually falling off. In their testing, that is essentially what was exactly happening with certain chemicals out there, and these would fall off. These have seemed to be okay. I did actually rip one of these off when I was pulling it out of a bottle one time, so they're not 100 proof indestructible, but they do seem to stay on there while the chemical's in there. The other thing with spray heads on here, they need to be ergonomic, and I will tell you the Pressols are about as ergonomic as they come. They feel absolutely incredible in the hand. Your fingers fit perfectly on the spray trigger here. And then of course up here on the actual nozzle, you have a stainless steel tip. Now, one of the big things that I really appreciate about all these bottles, you can buy replacement parts. So a lot of the times, you know, you guys hear me talk about this with foam cannons. I like the ability to be able to rebuild things, be able to fix things, instead of taking my $22 bottle, if the trigger ever stops working, or if this panel's discolors to the point I drop it, it breaks, whatever it might be, I'm not just throwing this completely in the trash. Now, it's not the cheapest thing in the world to do that. You know, these heads over here with the actual dip tube on them are about 20 bucks. So at that point, you probably just want to buy a new bottle. But if your stainless steel tip on here ever fails, corrodes, something like that, now it shouldn't because it's stainless steel, it's around 5 bucks to actually replace it. Now, the early Pressols actually came with plastic nozzles on here, so they've switched those to stainless steel, and the atomization on these things are truly spectacular. So this is filled with just straight water here. I just want to show you what this looks like. It's freaking unbelievable. The mist on this is really nice. You'll also notice here, this is a double pump. So when I pull this, it sprays. When I let go, it also sprays. This is one of the things that I sometimes struggle with. I'm very used to just using very small single pumps on these, and I do find myself dispensing more product. The first couple of times I use them, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, but the more and more I use them, the more you kind of get into it and figure out how to fine tune these. So these are something you can do a little quarter pull on. But again, you'll see if I only want that much product, now I've got to release it, now I'm getting a little bit more. Now there's only a certain amount of circumstances you would want that, with some tar removers, some things like that, just to get a very small amount on there. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but do consider that. You do feel like you go through quite a bit of product with these just with that spray on there. So blown away with the actual heads on these things. Again, the dip tube in here being very nice and flexible. The other point that they've made with having that flexible head is that you should be able to spray upside down. Now, I will tell you, I've played around with this and I've had intermittent results here. So as you can see, it's not quite as good of a mist. Kind of what you have to do is move this around. Now I can see it's totally at the bottom of this, and it gets going a little bit more there. One of the issues it has, though, when this is actually fully upside down like this, is getting the liquid all the way up into there. Now, personally, I'm not sitting here using this like this really ever, but the great thing with having that weighted dip tube very flexible here is that even if you're at a very, you know, big angle like this, need to get into a fender well, something like that, the wheelbarrow, something in that regard, is perfectly fine for that. Spraying it upside down is not 100% perfect, but it's definitely better than absolutely nothing. So next here, let's actually talk about these bottles. So very high-end bottles here. These are actually HDPE, so you can feel from the sides, very rigid, very nice. I've actually already dropped these multiple times, and they don't even seem to scuff at the bottom. Now, they do also sell these in a black anthracite color, and Matt, notoriously being Matt, he kind of exploded when he first saw them. They had some scratches in them and some things. He wasn't really happy with them, so if you do like the black look, you can actually get them for like a couple bucks off. I think they're $1 or $2 less, just because he wasn't 100% satisfied with it, but it seems to be he's kind of cooled down on that and he is impressed with them. Now, a couple of big things with the bottles here. Again, that paneling we were talking about earlier with these. Paneling comes from all of those chemicals sitting in there over time and, you know, actually distorting the bottle, getting it to shrink in. I've had that a few times with many different chemicals that I use. The companies just don't really figure out what the actual product is in there and, you know, make a specific bottle for that one product. So you'll see that over time. And this seems to have been really good. They've also fluorinated this bottle, which helps with that paneling and does help with discoloration. Now, importantly over here, I do want to show you, if you get some heavier alkaline chemicals, something like the Armor Detail Supply Tire Cleaner over here, you can clearly see quite a big difference between a white, very clear bottle and a more yellowish bottle over here. I don't think it's the end of the world, but it is something I would like to see over time. Maybe they can refine that a little bit more. At the end of the day, don't really care. I think this looks completely fine, completely normal, but do understand that you might get some discoloration, even though it's fluorinated in there. I still think it looks really aesthetically nice. So again, one of the things here with Matt's whole system is you can actually go on Obsessed Garage and purchase all of these different labels for the front of your bottles so you can tell exactly what they are. They've also done a little collaboration with Armor Detail Supply over here. You can see they've got their products labeled on here, which I think is really, really nice. And also they even on the back side have all of their directions. You can see it's cut out of the Pressol label over there. Just a really, really high level execution on these. Really impressed by it. Now, one thing I would like to see down the road with these actual bottles is to have more companies come in, like the Koch Chemies, the Built Hambers, the other products out there that Matt likes and would support, actually making labels for these. Now, I'm sure anybody can go and make a label like this. These are very, very clean, very chemical resistant. Again, $1.75 for each one of these. I do just wish there were a couple of more options out there, or you could have specific names. Again, it'd be really cool to have like a full Koch Chemie line, have them all colored with their kind of logoing. I know that gets into a whole nother gamut, but that I think is hopefully probably the future here. So the bottles I've been using, I've been really, really impressed with. I have only seen a couple of products that don't work 100% well in these. Now I just had my friend Eric from Dry Protected down here. He was installing some PPF on a Lucid Gravity, and he was using his tack solution with some isopropyl alcohol in it, 70% diluted with water, and he also had one that was just straight isopropyl alcohol. Now, typically not a lot of us are using IPAs, but do consider there are a lot of panel prep sprays with IPAs in them. The one thing I did hear with that after about 3 or 4 days of continuous IPA going through there, it's sitting there, is it actually started squeaking the head on here. Once we kind of flushed it out with water, completely came back. So it did kind of dry out the seals, things like that. Matt has a whole spreadsheet on his actual website that I'll put up here. You can see all the different products they've tested and how it reacts with the bottle, making sure it doesn't have the, dip tube come off of here, make sure it doesn't corrode everything inside, but it's really, really impressive. Again, the build quality here is just beyond phenomenal. It's extremely impressive. The heads are not just cheap plastic. This is a typical trigger plastic head that you would see. These are probably like 59 cents. The ergonomics on these are absolutely terrible. These little points back here dig into your hand. You get no sort of real good spray. You can see the dip tube here is very hard. So if you spray it, even sort of upside down, you're just sucking in the air there and it's not actually working. Some other sprayers that I'll mention on the market, just for some comparison, Tolkos are probably one of my favorites on the market. I think they are probably one of the best. They have some chemical resistant ones. I've found that they last, I don't know, typically up to 3 months or so for me. Again, they're very inexpensive, so it is something you replace. I just hate the kind of philosophy of purchasing something only to just immediately throw it away. So we'll be curious to see how the Pressols last, especially with some, tire cleaners like this, heavier alkaline-based wheel cleaners, iron solution, even tar solutions and stuff over here. Really curious, but from the testing that I know Matt has done with these, they seem to be really, really nice. There's some other triggers out there like these that come on the CarPro bottles and actually come with the normal Armor Detail Supply products. You'll see stuff like this. This is one of my mixed window cleaners here. It's still got a very, very nice spray pattern on it. I mean, arguably pretty much just as nice here as the Pressols, and I do very much like that it has just a single spray on it. So if I just need a quick little mist on a window, it's not this whole situation that's going on there. So that is one thing I would like to see with Pressols. If they could potentially make a version that is not that dual action, I think that'd be really nice. Honestly, I would prefer it for most of my solutions, but if I'm using something like iron removers, using rinseless washes, wheel cleaners, tire cleaners, I would prefer to have the dual action. There's only a handful of things I'd prefer to just have a single sprayer on. So I'm really impressed with these things, guys. And I guess the elephant in the room is, are these something I think you should go run out and spend $22 a bottle on? And I would say probably not. I would say you need to have a very specific viewpoint on your business. If you want something that is going to last, then yes, you need to purchase them. Can you get by with using Tolco sprayers and, you know, replacing them with the heads that come on normal bottles? Absolutely yes. I've done it for over 12 years now before I've ever used Pressols, and it works okay. Again, you are just replacing those frequently. You might like a specific spray head, or you might like using all sorts of different ones. Again, it's really frustrating to me how these are some of the best spray heads that I use. I even prefer them over the Tolcos, but I'll get something like a Geon head or something like that from G-Technic. I use them once and I absolutely hate the ergonomics, so it is very nice to have all of these in kind of one whole situation. So I guess what you could always do if you really, really wanted to, instead of buying all the bottles, you could just buy the actual heads on these, stick them in your bottles. They're going to work perfectly fine with that. Same type of thread on there. They're going to work great. But I do also really, really appreciate the aesthetics of how these bottles look. It's really nice having Armor Detail Supply every one of their products be able to be used on a Pressol here. So my big thing is I would like to see, like I said earlier in this video, these go across the board as much as humanly possible. I know there will be products Matt will absolutely not make labels for, totally understand that, but for a lot of us, having Geon products, Koch Chemie, some G-Technic stuff, I think would be really, really cool to actually be able to put on our bottles. So it's not for everybody. It's for a select few obsessed people who care about the aesthetics, who want to use these as kind of a piece of jewelry. And that's one of the things when you get into high-level detailing like I'm in, the aesthetics of my shop are really important. Having a shop that is very clean, very well organized, very obsessed garage style, not 100%, you know, using every single thing that Matt does. I can't possibly afford that as a detailer. I still have to live, but just the overall aesthetics and having a customer walk in and just going, wow, this shop is clean, it's tidy, it's organized. I would trust that guy to work on my vehicle. On the flip side, you go to somebody who's got, you know, Walmart sprayers, there's dirt all over the ground. You're probably not going to have the best feeling, and you're probably not going to be spending thousands of dollars to get your car fully corrected, PPF'd, whatever the heck you're doing on it. And yeah, so these just add to it. I'm pretty blown away with them. I've had chemicals sitting in here for a while. The spray triggers work amazingly the first time. And yeah, I really, really like these. So for me, this is going to be something that I'm going to continue to purchase as I see fit. Again, these are going to be bottles where the solutions that I use every single day that are the best of the best are going to be going into these bottles, and that's going to be what I'm using day in and day out. When I review products, I will always be reviewing them in the bottles they come with the spray triggers that they have on them to give them a fair shot, and then if they make their way into my arsenal, they'll end up in a Pressol bottle. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and hopefully it was interesting to you guys, and yeah, I have a feeling quite a few of you are probably going to go spend a heck of a lot of money on these like I just did. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.